Welcome. Just waiting to make sure that this is all set up correctly, and I'll just open up Blender. Seems like we're live, so that's good, although I don't see it coming through yet. Oh yeah, here we go. Cool. Okay, so this is an interesting project that I've got planned. I've noticed recently that my YouTube channel is about to be 10 years old this year, and so I thought it'd be fun to remake one of my first animations. The one I've chosen is this one from the 16th of August 2016, called Green Lantern versus Someone. I've been a Green Lantern fan for more than 10 years. I did some fan art back then. Oh my goodness, it was bad. Wow, that's really something. Yep, so that's what that's gonna look like. Welcome. I'm doing well. How are you? I hope you're having a good Easter. So today we're just going to be remaking one of my first animations because I realized that my channel's almost 10 years old now. I thought it would be do something to celebrate. So in that animation, I had Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, fighting someone nondescript off screen. So that's basically what we're going to do, but hopefully we're going to do it a lot better. I've been watching a lot of Bruce Timm TV shows like Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, and of course Green Lantern the Animated Series. And so I kind of want to go off that vibe, that style. I've got some references on my other screen. So I'll get that open. Make sure it's always on top. Okay, cool. This is what my references look like. Just a few simple ones for style. Might have to do a few iterations of the design before I settle on something I like. I know it's been a wee while since I last did a live stream, but hopefully, hopefully it's not too long. I'm gonna try and be a little more active on my channel. But also, hopefully this will be a fun project to work on. I'm not really sure how to do hair in this style, but I'll do my best. Something like that. That feels Hal Jordan-esque. Welcome over. Oh, so can I ask you something? How did you learn to make an add-on? Because I really want to make some ideas that I have somewhat sketched in my mind with Blender. Yeah, there's just a bunch of tutorials online. That's mainly how I used it. That's how I learned how to do it. It's not really my strong suit, but you know, with enough learning online, I was able to get it done. I also used, I think at the time when I was making that add-on, it was around the time that ChatGPT started to come out, and although it definitely wasn't able to write the add-on fully, it was helpful to kind of learn to like guide me through how working with Python and Blender worked. So I used a little bit of that. I'd imagine things are even a little bit more useful now as well. Pretty happy with this design so far. However, have you ever made 3D models with toon shading? A little bit. Personally, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, it can look well. No, I think it depends on how you do it. I think sometimes people just do a 3D model and then they just slap on a regular toon shader as like almost like an excuse to not think about the lighting too much. And I don't like how that looks. I'm like, either do it 2D or do it 3D. But then obviously sometimes people really put a lot of work into the lighting and exactly how it's meant to look, and then it looks really good. Not really my area of expertise, but I've done a little bit of that with some of my personal stuff. How am I going to draw these hands? It's kind of like... Yeah, that looks good. Maybe I made that too far that way. Let me just try again. So that's his ring there. I don't know if this is a perfect adaptation of the Bruce Timm style, but I think it definitely captures the same essence. Make sure those sideburns are visible so that I can make them grey. And without logic, 3D characters in a 2D space would be like negative 0.5D. I don't even know how you would do that. How you do 3D characters in a 2D space. Unless it's like a cross section of the 3D surface, or maybe that's just what all 3D animation is. It's like you're flattening it onto a 2D screen. But yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done a live stream. I kind of forgot how much I enjoy it. It's such a good way to, especially when you're working on a project that you're excited about. It's a really good way to keep you focused, I think. Hey, welcome, Flying Turtle. I'm glad you could join us. Happy Easter. I'm not sure if this is common in the rest of the world, but in New Zealand we also get Easter Monday off as a public holiday, so I'm enjoying that. Doesn't really make sense symbolically given the origins of Easter. Is it still Easter for you? Technically, no. It's Monday, and yet it's still a day off. So it depends on how you define Easter. From a religious perspective, I don't know if there's anything special about the Easter Monday. But from do I have to go to work today? It is still Easter. Of course, yeah. I'd imagine it's still Easter Sunday in much of the world. But yeah, no, it's Monday afternoon for me. I'm really happy with this design. I think it's looking good. I just need to figure out how to draw this hand. That's good. Alright. Now that we've got the... Oh wait, I need to just quickly draw in the boot separation. Maybe we should go up. Like that. Awesome. Really happy with that. Let's move that off to the side. And I'll call this one design. And now I'll add a new grease pencil object called roughs. Because this is where we are going to draw the rough strokes, the rough sketch for the actual animation. Alright. I'm getting a little notification on YouTube telling me I need to change the resolution. 2560. Let me see if I can quickly change that. Doesn't look like I can change it while streaming, so I think we'll just have to leave it for now. Okay, no problem. Okay, so in the original animation, he flies onto screen. Well, actually he doesn't, but I will. I'm gonna add that because why not? And then he creates a sword construct that flies off screen, and then he shoots some other projectiles, and then he dodges something. So I'm gonna loosely follow that. So let's just draw that first pose. Why is that so dark? Oh, it just is dark. There we go. Just trying to figure out what what hand his ring needs to be on. It's this hand. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's Green Lantern. From the Justice League animated show. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm going for. I'm actually let me just bring it up again. If I go to my channel and I go to my oldest videos. So I'm remaking one of my oldest animations from 10 years ago, where I did a little fan animation of Hal Jordan Green Lantern. And it was really, really bad because it was one of my first animations. So I'm really excited to try and remake it, but with what I know now. And I've been really enjoying the Bruce Timm animated shows. So, for example, my friend at work lent me Superman the Animated Series, and right now I'm watching the same friend lent me Batman Beyond, and they'd also lent me Justice League and some other such things. And I've always been a fan of Green Lantern the Animated Series by Bruce Timm. So I'm like, if I'm gonna remake this animation, I gotta do it in that style. But unlike in the Justice League show, I'm doing Hal Jordan rather than John Stewart, just because I always grew up with Hal Jordan, because, well, I think a lot of people who are familiar with Green Lantern were introduced by the Justice League animated series. I was introduced with Green Lantern First Flight, and then Green Lantern Emerald Knights, and then Green Lantern the Animated Series. So Hal Jordan's always been my favorite, just because he's in what I'm familiar with. Where's my mic? Is it not loud enough? It's just here. Trying to find a way to keep it in front of my face without it blocking the camera. I probably need to find a new place to put it. That's actually not bad. I mean, it blocks most of my screen. What about that? Alright, just let me know if that's too loud or too quiet. Oh, it still looks too quiet, isn't it? Let me just... Testing. That's kind of what I want, but I don't really want it there. Testing. Alright. Let me know how that sounds. Yeah, I've been really enjoying the Bruce Timm shows recently. Thanks for joining us, Slam Collective. You've been watching the show this weekend with your siblings. That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's great. What video references? Wait, what do you use video references to animate? Sometimes. I remember when a couple years ago when I got my first job in the animation industry, the studio I was working at had like a whole room just to shoot references, and I shot a couple references for some of my more dynamic shots, but I don't know. I don't know if I've built the skill set yet to know how to use video reference yet. But so instead my process tends to be revolving around just breaking every motion down into really simple things. So it's like, okay, I can animate a bouncing ball, and because I can animate a bouncing ball, I can animate a walk cycle, I can animate a cow running, I can animate, you know, whatever I want to, just because it's all just bouncing balls, you know. what And so I think probably one of my strong suits is getting motion that feels kind of nice. But one thing I probably struggle with a bit more is clean poses. So that's what I've been working on recently. Just trying to design good poses for the characters. Don't like how this is looking at the moment. Let's focus on straights and curves. So this is a big curve, and then that'll be a big curve, which means and then this needs to be a straight, which means that is a curve. Do you still use Moho? Because you can export FBX files from Moho and import into Blender using the new update. Yeah, I saw that. I haven't actually used Moho in a while, mainly because I recently switched to Linux. And I've tried to get Moho working, but when I try and run it through Wine, it works really well with the demo. But the moment you try and activate a license, this little error message comes up. And it's, oh wait, no, not this one. That's just the content folder. This error message says a fatal error occurred loading the application, reinstalled to correct the problem. But of course, reinstalling doesn't fix it. So hopefully I'll find a way eventually to get Moho working on Linux. Might just have to use a virtual machine. But in the meantime, I actually really enjoy Blender's rigging tools. I don't really see, even if I do get Moho working, I'm probably still going to use a lot of Blender rigging. And just use Moho when I feel like it's appropriate. By the way, I hope it's okay to mention here, but I asked on the Tahoma 2D YouTube a while back about a rigging sample. I've been trying to find time to even just record the Beast Boy rig in action. Wait, I did ask about the Tahoma 2D rigging. I would love to see more examples of rigging in Tahoma 2D. It looks like a really cool software, and I know that OpenTunes has some interesting rigging tools, but so much of OpenTunes is just very like unintuitive to people who are coming from other animation software. So whereas like I feel like Tahoma 2D does a lot to change that and make it a lot more palatable for most people. So I'd love to see some more rigging content from the Tahoma 2D YouTube channel. Will this be puppet animation or 2D frame by frame hand-drawn animation? It's going to be kind of a bit of a hybrid, kind of like what my last project was when I was doing that looping animation with the Human Torch. I had a lot of fun with that, but it was kind of interesting because I did a rough animation, which was very traditional, and usually I feel like in the past I wouldn't even bother with a rough animation because the rigs that I was making were so limited that I wouldn't be able to translate most of what I was doing in the with the actual roughs. But recently I've found a new way to do rigging that's kind of like just fancy, like fast cleanup animation. So if I were to do this frame by frame, the rough animation would go really fast, but cleanup would take forever. And so I found that this rigging technique that's a little looser, a little more flexible, allows me to just do frame by frame, something that looks frame by frame, but it's way faster than actually doing a frame by frame because it is actually rigged. The speed of getting the error message come up. Right. This is the joys of Linux. You don't have to deal with all the bloat of Windows. um, yeah. You just welcome K1D RAM. Just came across my channel. How long have I been editing? Do you mean like video editing? I mean, I guess as long as I've been doing YouTube videos, which, as I was saying earlier, is about to be 10 years, but that started with just like Windows Movie Maker, which was awful. And then I switched over to Blender Video Sequence Editor, and that's been good enough for my needs ever since. I'm definitely not a very fast or efficient video editor, or very good at it. But I do enough for what I need. Here's the thing. This is the problem I'm facing with this pose. I want this side of this arm to be curved like this. I want this part of his shoulder to be curved like this. And yet I want this corner to be sharp. But how is that possible when both are curving this way? I think I just need to make one of these curves less extreme. So I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna do, maybe it should go like that. No, that doesn't look good, but yeah, there we go. And then that shouldn't be curved, that should just be a straight line. Should it? I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be good enough to get the general pose. We can refine it when we get to the rig. Did you find useful Blender for storyboarding? Yeah, I remember in university a few years ago, I was doing the storyboarding for my capstone project, and it was really good. I was really impressed with it. I was using an add-on at the time to help with make it a bit more efficient. But recently, they added a new feature where you can kind of combine, where like a lot of it's all streamlined very nicely. So if you make a new file and you choose storyboarding, it'll set things up really nicely for you to do it. And it's really good because you can kind of keep things really simple if you want. Just do like a quick sketch, a few keyframes, or you can do like practically a full-on animation with objects moving through 3D space and all the rest of it. You get to choose how complicated you want your storyboard, which, depending on your project, is really important. Sometimes you need it to be super simple so that you can get it done fast. Other times you need it to have a lot of features so that you can communicate a lot of information. So yeah, Blender's great for storyboarding, especially now. Okay, I don't like how this fist is looking. That looks awful. Okay. Thanks, thanks, Studio Slam Collective. I appreciate it. But no, I don't know. I really like this hand. This hand's good. That hand's less good, but it's fine. I just need to figure out how to get this style. I really like this guy's hands. That looks really good. Yeah, this hand. I need to figure out that. Let's just do a quick study, shall we? So it's like a curve there, and then they kind of just do this for the knuckles, which freaks me out. It's like, you don't have more structure there. You just do it. Okay, and then there's that gun he's holding or whatever. That's not too important. Yeah. I think the problem I had with the hand that I drew was it was at the wrong angle for this pose. Like, there was nothing inherently wrong with it, but it wasn't right for this pose. Okay, so where does that little wavy knuckle shape go? That should start there. Go like that. I'm overcomplicating that thumb. It should just be like this. Alright. I'm not super happy with that either, but it'll do for now. Ooh, I'm liking this. This hand is looking a lot better. Yes. Yes, that looks good. Exactly. Now I understand. I can do another hand later, and it'll look so much better. All right, that's probably enough for this pose. The other poses are going to be much more rough than this. I just want one good, like, solid starting point. Actually, hang on. I just want to... Actually, it's fine. Okay. So, he needs to fly up into this pose. So, I reckon at first, let's duplicate this back a bit. Bring him down. He needs to ease into this. Right. But different parts need to ease by different amounts. Down here, that arm's going to be kind of flipped down like this. That's enough for that. That last pose needs to be a lot closer. I'm just going to replace it with that. Yes, perfect. Now I need to do the same with the other arm. was lovely to get to see one of your streams live. I'm awake far too late tonight, so I'm going to head off. Best of luck with this piece. I'm really excited to see it. Thanks for joining us. It's nice to have you around. Sleep well, and happy Easter. Now I need to do the same with the legs. But I reckon I'll just do that. I'll do that with just sculpting. Alright, I'm happy with that. I reckon that'll look a lot better when it's rigged, but that gives the essence of what I'm going for now. Okay, so the next key pose, he needs to be holding a sword construct. So let's start over the new pose. No, my screen is moving intentionally. If it's distracting, I can turn it off. Hang on. I made this. The thing is, the screen that I'm recording isn't 16 by 9, so I installed a plugin for OBS that kind of turns my screen recording into like a 3D floating window. So I'll just turn off the floating aspect. How do I? Is it filters? Yeah, it is. Okay. So you can see I can tilt it back and forth. Where is the floaty wiggle? I'll turn it down. No more wiggle. It's been giving me vertigo. Alright, sorry about that. I was playing around. I should have thought about it a bit more. Alright, so my plan is he creates the construct, then he needs to look back at where he was facing and launch it. So I think this pose will be mostly the same, so I'll just reuse it. I'll just rotate this stuff down though. He's gonna turn slightly, so his arm's gonna slightly go that direction. copy the head from a... Oh, his head gets way too big. Hang on. Alright, I'm going to copy this head over to this new pose. And now I'll just refine it a bit. It's too high up. There we go. Okay, that's looking good. And then he just needs to reach his arm back and launch it. So that'll be really... So the question is, should his other arm go in front like this? I think it should. I'm really enjoying this process. I think he needs to move over here. I'm just going to move the sketch over there a bit. So now I need him to throw it. So he just... And then that arm's going to come across in front first. And then that's going to follow. Okay. Hang on. I need some more perspective on this. So that needs to be larger. And that needs to come forward. It needs to be like still tapered in the same way. Wait, so the legs are like that. I think this leg should be up now. And that shouldn't be extended like the other one was before, but it should be further down. It should be more like that. Okay, that's... it grows a bit there. We should be going further back in the scene. There. pretty happy with how these poses are coming along, all things considered. And I think you should go back to this pose, more or less. How's that? Yeah. Okay, so in the original animation, after he throws the sword, he then just blasts some more projectiles, and then whoever he's fighting returns fire, and he flies off the screen. And it was really flat and boring. So this time, I'm thinking I want him to dodge something first, and then return fire, maybe at the same time almost. And then I want the fly off to kind of be like that, you know, something really spectacular with perspective and all that. So in order to dodge, he needs to turn his back, I think. Which will be fun. That'll be fun to do with a rig. It'll be fine. Do you know that Blender stopped the iPad port for an Android one instead? Yeah, I heard about that. Honestly, I'm not that surprised. I know that there's been a lot of art software out there that that's like iPad only, and so a lot of the artist community are almost dependent on Apple at this point, just because, you know, Procreate and Nomad Sculpt and those sort of software are kind of locked into the Apple ecosystem. But Apple is notorious for making things really difficult for developers, you know. And so it makes sense to kind of do it first on an Android platform that is a bit more open. That's, you know, it's no proper Linux distribution, but it's still much more open than anything Apple makes. So it makes sense that they would go with that first. And I'm sure they'll probably, if it's a success, they'll go back to Apple. But personally, I don't really like the idea of making art on a platform that's so locked down. You know, like, even though I'm not a big fan of Windows and I don't use it anymore, it gives you a lot of control, whereas even Android, you know, doesn't actually give you a huge amount of control. It's better than Apple, better than iOS, but yeah, I just wouldn't want to do a lot of art on a mobile operating system like that. I'd rather use like a 2-in-1 laptop or something running Linux, or even Windows if I have to. But I'm still glad that people are doing those sort of projects, because I think it's a good thing, and a lot of people really like doing art on their tablets. Yeah, but iPad is 45% of the whole market. Yeah, exactly. Pretty bad at removing virtualization and locking it, but still I'm sad because I really want Blender for tablets and I have to wait a bit more. Yeah, that's fair enough. Um, Blender would be amazing, especially with there was a time when it's like, well, why would you even bother putting Blender on a tablet? But these days, tablets are way more powerful than they used to be, and Blender has a lot more use cases that don't require quite as much power. So it just makes sense. So I think it will be a good thing when that finally comes about, and it's a shame that we will have to wait a little longer. Okay, so now I just need him to fly off. Right, that's gonna be a good last pose to see as he flies past. And rather than doing a big loop, I think I'm just gonna have him anticipate. Like this. That last part's too slow. Cool. Yeah, really enjoying this. This is a fun project. I just want to add a breakdown pose here. Right in the middle where I get to really figure out that path. Oh, I'm definitely not finishing it all today. I think my plan for this project is for it to be kind of a big celebration of 10 years of animation. Can't believe I've been animating for a decade. So I really want it to be really polished and finished. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing over a few live streams. This one, my main goal is definitely to just get the rough animation done, and maybe get a start on the rig. Who's to say? I don't know how far I'll get exactly, but it's definitely gonna be more than just today. Yeah, there we go. Alright, that's the rough animation done. Really happy with that. I know it's just key poses. If I were gonna do this fully traditionally, I would do a lot more breakdown poses. I'd really make the motion a bit clearer. But because it's gonna be rigged, a lot of that can be done with the rig. And this is just making sure the key poses are solid. Alright. So for now, I'm just going to hide the rough, bring this guy back into the center. Alright, exactly what should be separate here? I actually think most of the head should be kind of one object, unfortunately. Let's add a new collection. Can I not do it there? No, I'll do it here. New collection. How rig. Create a grease pencil object. Call it how. What's it? How GP. Should the torso be one or two objects? I think it should be one. Should it? I think it should be two. Call it how chest. Call this one how GP waist. Call this one neck, I guess. How GP neck. How GP head. Alright, let's just do those for now, because it can get really boring just adding a bunch of objects. So let's do chest first, but before we get into that, I just want to change this color to be like red, a bit transparent. Okay. Now, the tricky thing about this is, unlike my last animation, I need line work, you know? So I need to figure out the best way to get like a brush texture that feels authentic. I don't think I'm going to need any texture, because if you look at this style of character, the brushes are very solid. But I am going to need some pressure sensitivity. That looks alright, but I know they moved the sensitivity. Ah, here it is. Okay, I just want to move that more like that. Maybe even so it doesn't ever close off fully. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. Yeah, that feels better. Actually, that part will be on the arm, so I'll just leave that alone. Now, one thing I want to do is add some modifiers. Let's add a simplify modifier set to sample 0.01. Let's see how dense that is. Maybe not quite dense enough. 0.005. 0.005. Yeah, okay. And then I'll set smooth, keep shape, smooth out a little bit. I'm not a fan of this shape here. I'm just going to delete that. I'll just cut them off. There we go. That feels more Bruce Timm, does it? Actually, all of his examples, the chest kind of just does this, which I don't like. I don't like that at all. I'm not doing that. But I can do this. I don't like that either. Actually, hang on. I gotta keep in mind this part. I think I have to have a little think about the best way to build this rig out. In the meantime, I add a noise modifier, increase the noise scale, move it above the smooth, add it to the thickness, reduce the effect. like the way that looks. Now, in this cover art, the line work is colored to look like the part of the object that it's outlining, but I think in the actual show it's just black outlines, so I'm just going to keep it to black outlines. I might color grade it so it's not perfectly black, but for now that's fine. Now, in the meantime, I might need to rework that symbol. Oh, is my audio quiet? Thanks for letting me know. I'll adjust it. Hello, testing, testing. Yeah, it is a little low. Let me try and, if I go to filters, can I set it to gain? Alright, testing, testing. Testing, testing. Testing. Oh, too loud. Testing, testing. Okay, that should be good. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, I like the way that the noise modifier works, especially in Grease Pencil. I know that some people try to do like a turbulence effect in something like After Effects, but not only can I not use After Effects as a Linux user, I just don't like the way it looks, but for some reason the noise modifier always looks good. No worries, stream for a few years, getting your audio or video where you want it is a huge pain. Yeah. I had to turn it all the way up just to understand. Yeah, sorry about that. I think I also was starting to talk a bit quieter because I was getting into the zone of things. Yeah. You know, I probably shouldn't use this noise modifier if I want to like perfectly emulate the Bruce Timm style, because obviously if there's a pose where he just stands still, you're not going to redraw that. But I don't like how in those old TV shows a character would go from one pose, go to another pose, and just freeze, you know? Obviously, it was because of budget constraints, and it was fair enough. But now that we've got noise modifiers, why would I inflict that on myself? Alright, now let's get some other colors. First of all, we'll call this one How Line Work. Call this one How Green. New one called How Black. And final one, How White. Now the green, that looks good. the black shouldn't actually be black. It should be more of like a really dark blue. And the white shouldn't actually be white. It should be more of a really light blue. Oh, I need to set it to fill. Okay, and then finally, just like a color separator. Set that to like a red. Alright, no, that's cool. I'll call that one line. Move this one down. Color. No, I should. I need to increase the precision to like 8. Why is that so imprecise when I just increase the precision? Is it because of the simplify modifier? It is. I'll make sure to only let that touch the line up. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do exactly that. Alright. Let's add a new layer. Well, actually, first let's move this back into place. Also, I feel like the green should be lighter. Hang on. I'm getting a bit distracted, but maybe a little more bluish green. I can settle on something later. Right. So I'm gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna make a mirror modifier that only affects the new layer. Okay. Then I'm gonna just use a guide. Advanced stroke. Cursor. No. Where are those guides things gone? These things. It's up here. No. Where did it go? Doesn't matter. I'm just gonna disable these for now. Reduce the size here. thickness modifier that only affects this new layer. I'm going to reduce the thickness a lot. Okay. Then I'm going to I'm going to turn off the simplify. I'm going to turn off the smooth. That's what's the problem. And now this mirror needs to be vertical too. Perfect. Whoa. Okay. Apply. Now I'll use the grease pencil add-on, use box deform, and warp it into place. Go try that again. I messed up. Yes. Alright, now I'll just reduce the opacity here and I'll draw it again properly. I think in the next version of Blender, you're able to paint colors with holes in them. I'm really looking forward to that. Kelly, thank you again for your generosity. Much appreciated. You should have a GL run for DC Sketchy. Do you mean like a comic run, like an actual one? That'd be pretty cool. Right now I'm in the middle of reading through the Jeff Johns run, and that's been a lot of fun, especially considering how much it influenced other media with Green Lantern in it, you know. Yeah, that could be fun. I don't know. I feel like actually, let me just quickly. You hate Jeff Johns, really? I know that he does a lot of comics for different, like Batman. He did a famous run for, I think, but I've heard that the from what I've heard, and I'm not an expert on any of this, but it sounds like when Jeff Johns took on Green Lantern in 2004, it really elevated uh, the public perception of Green Lantern. Went from like being one of the more popular superheroes to being like really, really popular within the comic book community. And then Ryan Reynolds and that whole movie came along and ruined everything for the next 15 years. But I just want to find something that I did the other day. I was playing around with some of the new features in Critter, and I made a comic book for the first time. And when I say comic book, I mean a single page of a comic. But I thought it was really funny, so I just want to show you. So this is basically what my reputation at work is. So this person's trying to open some sauce. They say, "Hey, can you open this sauce?" I'll give it a go, and then that's me going, open source. I do love open source. You do like the Saint Walker character? Yeah, I do too. Especially in I really like Saint Walker in the Green Lantern animated series adaptation. See, I see what you mean. Doing animation, I do animation, so a comic should be nothing. It's yes, you do a lot more drawing as an animator than you would as a comic book artist. But I'm not a traditional animator. I'm a cutout animator, so I actually do probably a lot less drawing than your average comic book artist. And there's just so many skills that just don't overlap. I'd have to really develop some new stuff, new skills to be able to do a comic book. Not that I'm against that. I think that'd be a lot of fun to develop those skills. Just be something I'd have to really dedicate myself to. Sketchy. How come people who use Moho avoid fight scenes like the plague? There was actually a really recent video. I forget the name of the channel. But they were talking about why they use Moho and is it worth it. They mentioned my channel, which was nice because they left a comment asking why I use Blender instead of Moho, and they referenced that comment. But basically, I think the reason if you only use Moho, you're gonna feel like your rigs are really limited. But if you use Moho as like a tool within a larger pipeline, then I think you can do fight scenes. It just, you probably won't do the fight scenes in Moho, or not as much of it in Moho. You can't find any tutorials for my fight scenes. Yeah, I wouldn't look for tutorials for a topic like that. It's more applying fundamental ideas in a way that finding applying fundamental techniques to a fight scene. So think less about, or how do I do this in Moho, and think more about, okay, what do I want to happen in this scene? How do I make that happen? how do I use Moho in that pipeline? Where do I have to, like, maybe you have to do roughs in another software like Critter or Blender or something like that, and then you can just use Moho as like a cleanup tool. And so you might have some rough sketches, so you might have like a really simple rig, but then you like warp the vectors into to match the roughs, something like that. If Moho wants to move to the front, they need to optimize for fight scenes. I don't know if it's, I wouldn't describe it like that. I wouldn't say they need to optimize for fight scenes, but they do need to add more flexibility to their features. So like right now, it's really good for certain use cases, and people are using them for that, and that's great. But then you come across something like a fight scene, and suddenly it just becomes really limiting. So yeah, no, I think you're right. They need to try and implement some new, like, different workflows to be compatible with their software. I also think Moho's currently limited by the fact that people don't really use it that often, right? So the more that people use it, and they are using it more, you'll find that someone comes up with some really clever way to use the tools that already exist to do something that no one else has done before. And then suddenly everyone will be like, wow, that's amazing. I should do that, you know? And I feel like that's one of the big problems that open source software has. Obviously, Moho's not open source software, but things like Blender and OpenToons and Tahoma 2D often take a long time to get picked up, just because you look at a tutorial and the people making the tutorial don't have, like, they just don't care about making the stuff look good. They just care about making sure they communicate the technique that they're trying to. And as a result, the people who don't have a lot of experience with the software will watch the tutorial and they'll go, it's not for me. You know, something's wrong with this software because the person making the tutorial didn't do a good job. When in reality, it's more just that they didn't invest the time to making the product look good. And so the moment you have like real artists who are really good at what they do start making tutorials and doing little demonstrations with the software, then people go, oh, actually you can do a good job with that tool, so I'll give it a go, you know? And I think that's what Moho's doing it now. You look at their social media and you'll find people are doing some amazing stuff with Moho. And I think that's kind of my goal with Blender as well. So whether I'm doing a tutorial or just a project for myself, I want to say, look what you can do with Blender, and then hopefully more people will go, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. You have the basic Moho but feel quite limited. I have actually never used the debut version of Moho because, yeah, I remember early on I was entering these competitions with an old version of Moho with some very limited features. And then eventually I like won a copy of the latest version, and then I would like update when it was on 40% sale or something like that. So I don't know exactly what features are missing, but yeah, I can imagine it's quite annoying to be missing features that you see people using. But I wouldn't focus too much on that. I remember when I started animating, I was using Anime Studio 8, which is the precursor to Moho, and it was really limited. It didn't even have smart bones. And I remember just thinking, oh, if only I had Anime Studio 11, which was the current version at the time. Then and only then could I make good animations. But of course, when I finally did upgrade, I was still a bad animator. And I look back now and think, actually, if I could open up Anime Studio 8, I would be fine. Like, I could do a great animation with that old version of the software. So don't focus too much on, you know, what the features are, what features are missing, what it's optimized for. Rather think about what you're trying to create and figure out how you can make that happen, even if you're using workarounds and kind of hacky solutions. Just try and focus on what you can do, and and rather than what you can't. You love Killian's Mustard's Shady Woods pilot done in Moho though. I don't know if I've seen that. I'll have to look that up. I like those curves to straights you got going on there, Sketchy. Thank you. I was I'm referencing the Bruce Timm style that of uh his animated series like Batman and Superman, and so these are the references, and there's very much an emphasis on curves and straights. Batman Brave and the Bold, yeah. Right now I'm watching Batman Beyond. I'm having a lot of fun with that. A friend at work lent me their DVDs. I don't think I've watched Batman Brave and the Bold yet, but I've heard good things. Oh, the max export resolution is 800 by 800. That's horrible. Oh yeah, no, that's bad. I was about to say, oh, I was saying, focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. But that's really annoying. I wonder if you could like zoom the camera into one corner of your animation, export it 800 by 800, then do the next quarter, and then do the next quarter, and then do the next quarter, and then you've got a higher resolution animation you can stitch together. Not ideal though. So young to not have seen Batman and the animated series when it was originally came out. Yeah, no, I think because the Batman one, that was the first one that they made, right? And that was in I want to say the 90s, because I was born in 2004, so I was definitely a bit young for that. But even so, I've really taken my time to catch up on the classics. Like, I only watched the Justice League animated show last year, and that was incredible. You remember Bruce Timm did Batman, then Superman, then Batman Beyond, then Justice League. Yeah, yeah. I the first Bruce Timm show I watched was Green Lantern the animated series. I remember I was a Green Lantern fan longer than I can remember. And then I remember we were visiting Dubai, my family. We were in Dubai briefly, visiting from Afghanistan, which is where we were living. And we just turned on the TV in the hotel, and it was in the middle of an episode of Green Lantern the animated series, and I was like, oh, there's an animated TV show about Green Lantern. And so when we got back to Afghanistan, we definitely legally and totally legit found a way to download that and watch it, and it was good. I've rewatched it many times now. It's a shame that TV show didn't do very well, just because the live action movie didn't do well, and the toys didn't sell very well, and they didn't air it at an optimal time for kids to watch it, and as a result, it just didn't. Yeah, totally legit and legal. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy with the progress I've made today. I've got a good rough sketch. I've made a start with the rig, and I think I'm gonna leave it there for now. Cool. Yeah. So let's have a little quick before and after again. The one I made 10 years ago versus the one I'm making now. Oh my goodness. Ooh. Yeah. And then it just ends. Yeah. Compare that to what we've got now. I think it's already better. I'm excited. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Alright. Thanks guys for watching. Oh, does it look glitchy? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. I think there might be a problem with the resolution I'm trying to stream at. I'm getting a little error on YouTube, but I can't change the resolution while I'm live. So I'll make sure that my next live stream's better. But in the meantime, you can if you just go to my channel and go to videos and sort by oldest, it'll be one of the first in there. Alright, thanks guys for watching. I hope you have a good Easter, rest of your Easter Sunday, if it's still Sunday over where you are. For me, it's almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday. But yeah, alright, I'll see you around. Just stop streaming.